All right, Mr. Chair, you are now live.
Great. Okay. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Annapolis Board of Appeals virtual regular meeting for March 2nd, 2021. This meeting is being broadcast on the City of Annapolis YouTube channel. My name is Bob Gallagher, Chairman of the board. In accordance with city policy during the pandemic emergency, the virtual meeting allows the public to observe the meeting through a video link and to submit written comments through the City of Annapolis website. Links to the YouTube channel and the comment form are on the agenda for tonight's meeting. And also there's a link on the agenda to where the public can find the copies of the files relevant to the cases that we're hearing tonight. So the people that you see on the screen are members of the Board of Appeals. When the case is called, representatives of the parties to the case will also appear on the screen. Also participating at different times this evening, we'll have counsel for the Board of Appeals, Cheryl Woods, our recording secretary, Tammy Hook, one or more city employees running the video end of things. Tonight we have Julian. Also participating, there may be other representatives from the city, including Dr. Sally Nash, Director of Planning and Zoning, Joelle Braithwaite, Assistant City Attorney and Counsel to the Department of Planning and Zoning, and one or more other members of the planning staff or the City Attorney's Office. We ask everyone but members of the board to mute their audio. If anyone wishes to speak during the meeting, please raise your hand and I'll recognize you to speak. As I mentioned earlier, written public comments were accepted through the city's website. Comments on matters before the board tonight that were submitted up until noon today have been made part of or will be made part of the record. In those cases, they've been forwarded to the members of the board and to the parties in advance of the meeting. So let me remind everyone that any communications that anyone believes they need to have with the board about any case by anyone other than a party to the case need to go through the comment form through the Department of Planning and Zoning. No one should attempt directly to contact any member of the board. So with that, we'll ask our recorder, Tammy Hook, to call the roll, please. Tammy?
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Dr. Chen?
Present.
Mr. Walsh?
Present.
Mr. Dews?
Present.
Mr. Zazali? Mr. Burnett?
Right, so we've got a quorum. Have the members of the board had a chance to review the agenda for tonight?
Yes.
Are there any suggested corrections or changes?
None.
May we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move the agenda for tonight's meeting be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the last meeting. That was February 17th, 2021. Have you all had a chance to take a look at them?
Yes.
Great. Any corrections or suggestions for changes?
Nope.
May we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we move on to the real agenda. Tonight we'll be conducting deliberations and making decisions in 3 applications that were first heard by the board at our last meeting on February 17th. The evidentiary record in those cases has been closed except for any public comments that may have been received before noon today. So the first case we will take up was the special exception application 2020-005 by the city to allow construction of a new public works headquarters at 39 Hudson Street. And I see we're bringing up some of the folks from Public Works who are involved in that. Terrific. And there have been a couple of public comments that have been received since the last time. If I'm not mistaken, Tammy will mark those and include those in the record. So I think we've heard a thorough explanation of the application, what they're trying to do here, the various things they've done to deal with parking, traffic, environment, and other issues. Are we ready to go ahead with deliberations, everyone?
Yes.
Great. Would anyone volunteer to start?
Well, why not? I thought that the city's presentation was very thorough, Mr. Chairman. This is a project that seemed to have gone through a great deal of deliberation within the city agencies. I'm impressed by the manner in which it's been configured on the plans. My concerns based on the public comments were about traffic, especially traffic, the traffic on West Street, ingress and egress from West Street. But I believe that the answers by Dr. Nash and by the Department of Public Works have alleviated my concerns for that. The salt shed and my concern that there might have been some, that there would be possible runoff from not only the salt shed, but also from hazardous materials from the site. Those have seemed to be properly designed to mitigate any issues with that. So the fact that it's a pre-developed site and that the previous owner of the site was intending to put a use there that had already been approved, not similar to what the DPW is, but largely with the same traffic volume and in an industrial area indicates to me that this is a site that is conducive to this purpose. So with that as a kind of a summary of my view, I think it does comply with the various elements of the special exception requirements of the code.
Thanks, Michael. Rob?
Yeah, I also concur. I thought the city did a fairly thorough job in the, with the issues that seemed to arise during the earlier was the traffic and the environment, and looking at where the property is in the zone that it's located in. They did address those concerns, I guess, to my satisfaction. Among all that, I thought Public Works did a good job of actually, talking about the mitigations for the environmental side and the traffic. I did also have a little bit of concern with that. The traffic is just bad in that area. I mean, I don't know a right answer. And I know it was a lot of deliberation over the traffic study and one being there. Is it required or not? I frequent that area often. So I know it very, very well, and the traffic in that area. So that was a concern, but I think it satisfies the requirements for a special exception.
Thanks, Rob. Dr. Chen?
I was a little bit concerned about the unsignalized intersection at West Street. But I took comfort in the explanation that the traffic to and from the facility by the trucks or the cars or the personnel, it wasn't like they all come flooding out at 8 in the morning, all the trucks come out to do their daily jobs. So that was important to me with regard to concerns about the traffic. One of the public comments we received with regard to the environmental issues I thought was helpful. I think it addressed stormwater. So that was also helpful. So I agree with my fellow board members with regard to this special exception.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the city did a great job in touching all of the bases for the formal requirements for special exception. I'm always concerned about the public comments. I think parking was dealt with nicely, and that all the parking, employees, visitors, everything's going to be on site. So you can't do much better than that. Traffic, I know it's bad there, but the most recent study said it was not failing. And I don't know how you would put a signal there anyway, because it's so close to Route 2. The comments from the AEC, the more I thought about them, the more confused I got. Not confused about what they were trying to say, but about the role of the board in this thing. We recently had the standard on appeal changed from de novo to review on the record. So we basically go along with what the director's decision is unless it's clearly wrong or makes a mistake in the law. These applications, we're the decider. But it's bizarre that the staff and the applicants can spend months, sometimes more, hundreds of hours, trying to work out the best way to put these projects in. But then we are expected in a 30-minute hearing and 15 minutes of deliberation to decide. Well, we're not required, I don't think, to give the department any deference. I think it's foolish not to. They've done all the work. And that boils down to another conundrum. We've seen the conflict between the city government generally and planning and zoning in particular, and various environmental groups over whether the city should require applicants to do more than a minimum required by law, where the terms of the law arguably give them discretion to do that. And the city is, from my observations and what I've heard from others, takes the position pretty much, no, we don't want to go down that road if we don't have to. And then for me, that leaves the question, well, when they kick the ball over to us, what do we do? Do we have the authority to require more than the law requires? And I'm not sure I know the answer to that. But I come back to the point that I think my inclination is to give substantial deference to the hard work the city's put in on this stuff. I think the applicant is doing things that are not required. I think it's been a long, complicated negotiation between planning and zoning and public works about what they're going to do. And I'm confident from what we heard and from dealings with both groups in the past that they're in good faith and trying to do the best they can do for the city. And the fact that they haven't done everything that an environmentalist could wish that they would do, as suggested by the AEC, I think that's an aspirational goal, and I hope they'll continue to work toward that. But I'm not prepared to say that this application shouldn't be approved because they haven't done that. So that's a long-winded way of saying I agree with the rest of you. Do we have a motion?
Go ahead, Katie.
No, go ahead, Michael. If you like.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that SE 2020-005, this special exception application be approved, given that based on the evidence placed in the record and the testimony provided to the board, that the requirements of the code, City of Annapolis Code regarding special exceptions have been met, with the condition provided that on the condition that the planning department staff recommendations be incorporated into the approval. That would be points 1 through 16 on the staff report would be included in the special exception approval.
Great. Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, thank you, Kevin and Joelle and all the staff over at DPW for a great job. Look forward to seeing this masterpiece of urban stormwater engineering. Thank you all. We can excuse you and we'll bring in the folks on the next case,
Thank you.
which is 79, no, what is it? It's the restaurant.
Yes. 007.
Yep. 2020-007. Okay. Let's see. Have there been any public comments received since the last meeting? Kevin or Sally or?
No, we haven't received any public comments, any additional ones.
Who would like to start on this one?
I can start, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
I was very satisfied by this application, Mr. Chairman. I thought major issues such as parking and noise that might be a concern with regard to expansion of a restaurant were clearly explained to us that it's not going to be a problem. I myself am familiar with this restaurant. I've been to it. It's very popular. It's in a great location for residents as well as people driving in to come to this particular restaurant. So I would move to approve this special exception.
Michael?
I'm going to defer to Rob to second the motion, but I agree with Nadine in all respects.
Mr. Dews?
And keep it short. I'll concur.
Did I second the motion, Mr. Chairman?
She moved. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that was a motion. She did all at once.
Well, it was a short motion.
She snuck that motion in there. I was like, oh.
I didn't notice it either. But all right. Do we need
I
any
did hear
further
it, but I was like,
discussion?
okay.
Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Congratulations. Look forward
Thank
to
you.
a new expanded, wonderful restaurant in West Annapolis. Thank you all very much for your hard work.
Thank you.
All right, Julian, if you'd excuse these fine folks, we'll move on to Franklin Street. Okay. Let's see. Jackie or Kevin, have there been any more comments filed since the last meeting?
I'm not, other than what I've emailed you now.
Okay. The board members feel like they have enough information to deliberate this one?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I'm satisfied that Mr. Dales was able to send that further correspondence clarifying his position on the variance, I believe. So that has been clarified enough to my satisfaction that they're not seeking something. If I have this correctly, they're still seeking the variance and not
Right.
not trying to not seek the variance.
Right. Dr. Chan?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, that was a very important point for me at our last meeting. So I am very relieved that they have made that decision with regard to the variance. I do think it's important that the board recognize that it is the law and that a variance is needed.
Yeah, well, I don't, I guess that's implicit if we decide to grant the variance. But it's not something that I'd like to write an opinion on.
Okay.
Mr. Dews?
No, it's like we spent a lot of time, the same last time, on whether or not, on the variance and whether or not it was needed. But I was glad to also read the letter essentially saying that it is needed and going to comply. And I read the opinion on it, and so I'm glad it's part of it. I concur with that.
Okay. Yeah, I think they have clearly met all of the requirements for the special exception and the variance for the reasons stated in the report and the evidence we heard last week, 2 weeks ago. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to. Do you want me to do them separately or together?
Why don't you do them together?
Okay. Although if Mr. Dews would like to give it a try, that's,
I'll let the lawyers instead of the engineers do it.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, I move that SE 2020-008 and VAR 2021-001 be approved. The reason being that I find that on the way to the evidence that's been placed into the record and by a testimony given at the time of the hearing, that the elements of the special exception, according to the zoning code of the city of Annapolis, has been met by the applicant. And when as regards to variance, all the elements of variance have also been met based on the weight of the evidence that was submitted and on the record. I would propose that the approvals be contingent upon staff recommendations for the special exception and the variance. I'm trying to find them.
Were there any?
Were there any beyond just the usual?
Oh, yeah, there were. 1 through 5.
1 through 5. And was that on the special exception? I'm still scrolling through here.
Yes.
Okay, so.
Oh,
So-
no, they did them together. They did
Okay.
them together.
So the approval motion is contingent on the approval is contingent upon the satisfaction of the 5 conditions stated in the staff report dated February 5th, 2021.
A second?
I
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, congratulations, Ms. Rice.
Thank you.
Thank
So
you very much. Thank you, Mr. Dales.
Thank you all very much. Good night.
So Julian, if you can excuse Ms. Rice and Mr. Dales, we'll move on to this request for an extension in, get this, SE 2017-2 and VAR 2017-007. Who wants to tell us what's happened since the last time we got together?
Good evening, it's Kevin Scott for Planning and Zoning. I think it's SE
you.
2017-003 and VAR 2017-007.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the,
So
I called a 3 and 8. No.
okay, so the initial approval was granted in August of 2019. Special exceptions and variances are good for 1 year. The applicant did their first extension request, which is good for 6 months. You granted that last summer. And here we are for their second 6 month. This will be the second and final, which will take the approval up to August 14th of 2021. And hopefully they will be building by then. The applicant and their agent is here, if you have any questions for them.
How long is the extension?
They're allowed 2 successive 6 month extensions for a total of a year. You get a year on the initial approval and then a total of a year of extensions. So 6 months and 6 months. This is the second and final 6 month.
And 6 months from now is when?
Did I do the math wrong? August
you did.
14th, 2021?
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
Okay, because it was initially approved August
Yeah.
14th,
Yeah, yeah.
2019.
Yeah, that's right.
So 2 years from the original approval date.
Is this tied into COVID issues of some kind?
I think that's part of their reasons. They're here. They wrote a letter that was transmitted to you all.
Yeah, I mean, you remember in another one, we gave an extension, but tied it to the end of the emergency.
That's correct.
Well, I think that's probably true. I think if the law office chimed in, they would probably say that, but I think you still probably need to follow the extensions along the course. And then when the emergency ends, then they go from there. But
At least I follow you.
that's how things work when we did the tolling way back when there was the downturn in the economy.
I just don't want them to run out and have to apply again.
Right.
And if it's the COVID problems that are slowing this down and there's a way to deal with that, maybe Mr. Braithwaite can tell us.
This is Joe Braithwaite from the Office of Law. I'm inclined to believe, as you do, that if you were able to grant this second a 6 month extension, you probably could tie it to the end of the public health emergency. And the governor has given some authority for certain permits and other things to not expire during the public health emergency. So I do believe that there's at least some law that may provide some support for the idea that even as the city of Annapolis labors under public health emergency, that we can limit or allow permits to expire after the expiration of the public health emergency.
Okay, well, if it makes sense to the applicants and is agreeable to my colleagues, my suggestion would be that we move to grant extension of the special exception and the variance for the additional period of 6 months to begin to run upon the expiration of the pandemic emergency. And if something comes up that they need to do in the meantime, I don't think the city's going to cause anybody a problem. If they have a problem, you can always come back and we can fix it. Does that make sense?
That would be very acceptable and very much appreciated. So thank you.
Great.
Thank you very
Someone
much.
like to make that motion? Give me a so moved.
So moved.
Give me a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Thanks, Kevin, Sally.
I was just stunned by your eloquence that I just didn't think I could add to that.
I thought it was an excellent motion.
Jackie, is there anything else we need to talk about tonight?
No, I guess we don't have anything else. We don't have another item on the agenda. No, we're done. That's it. I was getting this confused with something that's on the Planning Commission agenda, so.
Don't confuse us with those guys.
Well, nope, and you have the 17th off, so our next meeting is that first Tuesday in April, which is, I can't remember the date, to be very honest. It's, and I'm not really sure that we have.
April 6th.
April 6th. I don't know what we have planned for that agenda yet. We're still in a kind of a draft state with that. I think there's some variances lurking out there that need approvals, and I don't think there are any special exceptions. Kevin, do you have anything you have planned for that meeting? Mr. Scott?
I personally don't have anything. I
Right.
think Tom is on the call too. I don't, he was, maybe jumped off.
I think there are a couple of variances. I don't think it's a big agenda, though, to be very honest with you. I think we have a lot of stuff in, but not necessarily ready to go to hearing. So hopefully we'll have a lighter spring.
We could have a motion to dissolve the Board of Appeals.
No, I don't think so.
In time for summer.
Michael, you're already on vacation, so.
Oh, let's stop there, Jackie. Let's stop right there.
Well, I think we're about to set a new record.
Close, close.
Wow.
Anyone like to make the final motion? Come on, Rob, you can do it.
To adjourn.